Yo, what up everybody, this is Anime Junkie and today we're doing part 4 to what if Deku could use Haki. And now let's get to the intro.
Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Right in front of get myself a lamb color cuts for the game. Leave him hanging by his chain. Click bang, feeling rage, feeling fire in my brain, feel insane. And it's slowly building flames, will be fine for my brain. Bringing more, please still, no glory.
Okay, so last time we left, Deku just passed the Conqueror's Haki test that his grandfather gave him, Ryu. And now, let's get to the story. Okay, so after that, Deku will spend 5 years more in the mountain village that he's basically staying with his grandfather and grandmother. And he's gonna go to the same school that's in the mountain village and with the neighborhood kids for 5 more years. So after that, in those 5 years, Deku and Uraraka are really close friends now. And you may even call them a couple by now. All the other kids in the neighborhood probably just tease them because they're so close to each other and they just say like, oh, what's the couple doing today? And Deku and Uraraka just blush, and the parents also think it this way because they know the feeling of being in love, so they know the early stages of it and they know Uraraka and Deku like each other. But after 5 years, Deku has to go back to his city home and back to the same school that he was. So this is 5 years later from the day Izuku passed the Conqueror's Haki test. So right now we're at the start of the anime, which means Bakugo will end up being attacked by the sludge villain. So Deku returns and says goodbye to Uraraka and his grandparents. He comes back to the city and he unpacks everything, gets his room ready, and he also gets his uniform ready for tomorrow. So Deku thinks he should go for a jog. He should go around the neighborhood and see what has changed over the 5 or 10 years that he's been training. So Deku basically puts on his tracksuit and goes on a run. He notices a lot of new things that appeared in the 10 years of training that he did with his grandparents. And he sees his tunnel, and that's a way back home because he's coming back. So he's running, and remember, he's keeping his observation Haki all the time because his grandfather told him there are more villains in the city than there are out here in the mountain area. So you should keep your observation Haki on all times. So Deku does follow that, and he does have his observation Haki on. So the sludge villain comes and attacks him from the tunnel. And of course Deku sees this coming, so he dodges it. Then he rips out a pole from the ground and covers it with armament Haki and attacks the sludge villain. The sludge villain actually gets knocked back and is screaming because this is the first time in his life that he actually felt pain. Because he's made of sludge, so nobody can hurt him or physically hurt him. So this is the first time he's ever actually felt pain. Because Haki is a nullifier of quirks. And sorry I didn't get to say this in other parts, but since Haki is a nullifier of devil fruits in the One Piece anime, I'm just gonna say it's a nullifier of the quirks in My Hero Academia. So when the sludge villain gets knocked back, he thinks that, wait, did I just feel pain? Did this kid just hit me and I felt pain? And he realizes that, oh, maybe this kid has a quirk that nullifies all other quirks. So the sludge villain actually thinks of this as a really good opportunity to take down and take over a body that has a quirk to nullify other quirks. So he tries to attack him from the back with his sludge, but of course Deku sees this because he has observation Haki. He dodges it easily, and then he jumps towards the body of the sludge villain and activates his Conqueror's Haki. The sludge villain is knocked out, and then he hears, "I am here, do not fear." And it's All Might. But All Might's really shocked that a villain that he couldn't even chase or take down was easily taken down by this kid right here. So he's really impressed by the kid and gives him his autograph as a gratitude. So he says goodbye and he jumps away. But this time Deku actually senses he's gonna jump away, so he clutches onto his leg and holds onto him until he lands. So both All Might and Deku land on the same rooftop they did in the anime. And now you might be asking, wait, what kind of question is Deku gonna ask All Might? Well, he does have powers now, so he doesn't really need to ask if he can be a hero without a quirk. Well, there is another way that we can put that into the story. As soon as they land, All Might actually tries to jump away again, but Deku stops him and tells him that he has a question that he wants to ask him really badly. And All Might looks back, and Deku's looking at the ground because he's nervous because it's All Might, the #1 hero. He shouts out, "Can someone be a hero without a quirk? A hero like you?" And at that second, All Might turns into a Small Might form. And when Deku looks up for his answer, he doesn't see All Might, he sees this weird, wrinkly old man that has the same colored and same clothes as All Might. And then All Might explains his injury 5 years ago and how it limited his powers to only 3 hours a day. And then after explaining that, he answers his question, no, you cannot be a hero without a quirk. Well, there are other occupations you can do to help other people, like being a policeman or a firefighter or something. But being a hero is a really risky career and job to do. You can risk your life to protect someone and you'll be at a really big disadvantage if you don't have a quirk. Deku is shocked to hear this, just like in the anime. And he's saddened by what All Might told him because he's the #1 hero and he expected him to give him hope that he could become a hero. And then All Might walks away, and then he's halfway down the stairs. He notices that he doesn't have the sludge villain with him and it might have fallen out when Deku was clinging to his legs. And then he basically hears an explosion outside and he already knows the sludge villain is out there and he's harming other people now. So he rushes down the stairs and he's running to the explosion to see what's gonna happen. By this time, Deku's going home, saddened. And if you're wondering why Deku asked that question to All Might, even though he has a power, well, Deku asked that question because he wanted to know if he didn't have the fortune and luck to actually get this power right now, would he still be able to be a hero without all those powers and that training that he did for 10 years? So when All Might said no, he realized that back then he couldn't do it and right now he still doesn't have a quirk. And he's also saddened that the #1 hero, his idol, actually told that to him. Deku's questioning his goal right now to be a hero or not, but then is stopped by himself to not think that way, and he does have a power and he does have potential to be a great hero and that he's gonna prove All Might wrong. Then he comes across this crowd and he also sees fire in front of them. He quickly runs up and then he basically sees Bakugo trapped by the sludge villain. Then he realizes his mistake and he actually let the sludge villain go because he clenched onto All Might's leg. Deku is horrified. And he's also kind of having this mixed feeling because he hasn't seen Bakugo in a long time, but he can recognize that spiky explosion hair anyways and the quirk that he's using to trying to get out. So he already knows that's Bakugo and then he looks to the right and sees All Might, the skinny version. All Might and Deku basically lock eyes and Deku smiles and nods his head and before All Might could say anything, Deku rushes into the battlefield, passing all the heroes, and the heroes are wondering where the hell did this kid come from? Quick, grab him! All Might is shocked to see that kid just run into the battle head straight, and then he thinks that he defeated that villain way back at the start of the day. And All Might just thinks that he got lucky, but it seems like he knows what he's doing. So the villain sees that kid again, and he's really mad at him for capturing him. So he basically attacks him with his sludge, and Deku's dodging it like he's a pro, and he knows where the attacks are going. Everybody's looking at this, and there's some reporters up on the sky looking down below and recording all of this. When Deku gets in 1 meter of a distance from Bakugo and the sludge, he activates his armament Haki in his left hand and grabs Bakugo's hand. And that completely nullifies the hold on Bakugo and he just simply pulls Bakugo out. And the sludge villain is trying to hold Bakugo back in, but he's just slipping off. Like there was no friction on him anymore. And the reason why is that Deku actually coated Bakugo with the invisible armament Haki because he doesn't want to waste his Haki and he's been using observation Haki the whole day. So he has limited energy right now. So he needs to get this thing quick. He pulls Bakugo out easily. Then he activates his armament Haki on his other hand, punches the villain in the face and he goes flying and starts screaming. Everybody just realized what happened and they're shocked to see he actually hurt the villain with a physical attack no less. Because the sludge villain is made out of sludge, so he can't get hurt. So then everybody just jumped to conclusions that think that that's his quirk. All Might is really shocked and he's confused because why did the kid ask that if he could become a hero without a quirk? I mean, he clearly has a quirk. And then he realized the kid's hiding something and he needs to know it. After that, the sludge villain attacks him again, but Deku has to end this quick, so he activates his Conqueror's Haki, completely knocking out the sludge villain and he just drops on the floor. Everybody just realized that that kid just saved that other kid and they both have the same uniform. They must go to the same school. And then Bakugo wakes up and he sees the person who saved him and asks him, "Who are you?" He's like, "Hey, Kachan, remember me? It's Deku, remember? And then Bakugo sees the green bushy hair on his head and he remembers everything about Deku and how he left really early on in their childhood and moved to the mountains with his grandparents. He stands up, and when he was about to ask the question, a whole crowd surrounds Deku and asks him question, what's your quirk? And the press basically have to push through everyone, and they get in front of Deku and ask him questions. What's your quirk and why'd you jump in? Deku basically answers the second question. He says he looked like he needed help. All Might is motivated because this kid has the will of a hero. Then All Might turns into his buff form again, pushing through everyone, picks up Izuku and tells everyone that this kid is the hero today, not me. And after that, Deku does get scolding from all the other heroes. But then on the side where nobody's listening, he also says, that's a really nice quirk and it's pretty handy. When you become a pro hero, you can join my agency and become my sidekick. And then he asks, hey, what's your quirk by the way? And Deku just walks away and says, I don't have a quirk, I'm quirkless. And that's it guys, I hope you guys liked this What If series. And subscribe, hit the bell icon for my future What If series. And as always, Anime Junkie out.